This
Heron, and
conference will now be recorded.
sorry, Angela, go ahead.
That's fine. My name is Angela Heron, and I am in the Professional Relations office here at Disability, and I am your SOAR liaison. And again, Jackie Whitley Covington was supposed to be in the meeting today. Unfortunately, she is sick, so it's just going to be me. So, of course, our slide number one, just DDS and how we do SOAR here. Slide number two, how cases are flagged. Right now, we have a new case processing system, DCPS, and there is no specific SOAR designation flag as we had in our old case processing system, which is why unfortunately, I don't have any numbers to share with you today. We go in there and we manually flag them. Hopefully that will change soon. I actually have a meeting this afternoon about SOAR and how cases will be designated and counted towards metrics this afternoon. So if anything significant comes of that, I'll certainly share that with Sarah. But again, they are flagged in our system. And of course, we have to have the SSA 1696 before we can transfer a case. And of course, all of you have been faxing me your claimant name and social security number. It's helpful if it's on your letterhead. That way, if the 1696 is missing, I can certainly email you. Sarah has also given me a master Excel spreadsheet, which she sends me updates, so that's been nice as well. We currently have 7 SOAR examiners, which is more than we've ever had before. And what Jackie was going to share with you today is that we will be adding 2 new SOAR examiners in January. We had another round of career progression, and so we'll be getting 2 more. So we'll have a total of 9 SOAR examiners, so that should help significantly. And as you know, the case must be transferred to a SOAR examiner generally within 5 business days of case receipt here at DDS. Again, that 5-day, that's that's not hard and fast because I know it's been, sometimes we have difficulty getting the 1696s. So I kind of look at everything on a case-by-case basis. Generally, if it's less than 10 days, I'm more than happy to transfer that to a SOAR examiner. But anything over that, it kind of gets a little murky. But again, it really just depends on each case, and I do look at each one specifically. Okay. Slide number 3, again, just the information that I need to put your clients on my SOAR spreadsheet. I keep a master spreadsheet that I check cases at least twice a week. Right now, it's generally 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And again, just need your information, claimant's first name, last name, full social security number, and it's helpful if we know if it's an initial case or if it's a reconsideration case, because if it's a recon case, we definitely don't want the same examiner adjudicating the case. It's something that I can look up, and I certainly don't mind. But if you know that, it's always helpful to have that. Again, as you know, we cannot accept the 1696 here at DDS. We haven't been able to do that for at least 15 years. It's certainly fine if you do send that just with the claimant's name for the purpose of it, the name, social security number, but I cannot submit it. That has to go through the field office. And we're not able to accept medical records here in PRO. We do ask that you wait for the barcode. And everything else, I guess, is a little it's self-explanatory. Faxes should only be sent on claims that have already been submitted to SSA. And yes, if you're no longer working with someone, please let me know. That would be helpful. Slide number 4. Again, the best way to find out who your caseworker is to call the DDS call center. They have added more people. I know it's been difficult getting through to them. That is something that we're aware of and that we're working on. It does take up to a week to receive your barcode, and the best way to submit records really is ERE. And if you don't have an ERE account, I can certainly create one for you. You can email me, and I'll be happy to do that. And of course, our fax server as well. And that number is on your barcode. Slide number 5. These are our current SOAR examiners. So you don't necessarily have to call the call center to find out who your SOAR examiner is. It's going to be one of these individuals. Sure, you recognize some of the names. Sean and Beth have been doing this for quite some time, as well as Angela. Tanya Jordan is amazing. She and I were in the same training class. Carrie and Jennifer are great as well. So lucky to have them. These are all seasoned examiners. And of course, the 2 new ones coming on will be seasoned examiners as well. Slide number 6. This is something I'm excited to share with you all. I know there are already a couple of you already on this list, but NC DDS, we're having, it's an attorney status initiative. And as soon as I got the internal email, I asked if SOAR representatives could be added, and of course they said yes. So you have the ability to request case status or medical updates via fax once a month per claimant. And each fax can contain up to 20 cases. If the case is 60 days or older since assigned, the names of outstanding medical sources will be provided. The call center will respond to the fax request within 3 business days, and the response will consist of a fax cover sheet and a spreadsheet. And the fax cover sheet will contain a key or a legend for the spreadsheet. So I'm really excited about that. Slide number 7, how to sign up for the NCDDS Attorney Call Center Status Initiative. I will be facilitating this for SOAR reps. I think it's just easier that way. I can keep track of it. So you don't have to contact the call center directly to give them this information. But I will need your SOAR organization or your SOAR representative name, the contact person if it's a SOAR organization, email address, phone number, and fax number. And again, I will get those to the correct person at the call center so you can be added to the initiative. And that's my contact information. I'm sure you all have that. That is our new PRO e-fax number. That has changed from last year. It's 833-441-1045. The other fax number is still working. You can still fax it to our old fax number. That is really an old school fax in office. But we generally try to have someone here in PRO every day to so I can get those faxes. And that's it for me. I'm certainly here for any questions you have. Sarah, if you want to facilitate that, please do so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Angela. That's exciting to hear about that new attorney initiative that we can take part in to get some updates. Folks, please feel free. You can either unmute yourself kind of one at a time, or if you'd rather me read out your questions or comments, I am ready to give over some of those to Angela. We have about 10 or 15 minutes with her for questions.
I have a quick question, Sarah, if you don't mind. This is
Of course.
Malik from Dutwell. Miss Angela, so I know that Miss Brittany Green has been out for some time now, and her email is stating that she'll be out throughout 2021. Is someone working on her cases? Are they being reassigned, or just could you please advise if she's working on a case of ours?
Yes, so her cases will not be reassigned. Her cases will be adjudicated by her case consultant. So that's actually not better, but it's still a seasoned examiner working on those. But we decided to keep everything on her number just to make it consistent. But yes, those cases are being worked on, and they're being worked on by a case consultant, her case consultant.
Hi, good morning. This is Melissa Venable at Atrium Health. I'm sorry, I just came into this meeting off of another one. And so is this being recorded so that I won't go and ask questions that have already been answered?
Yes, Melissa, we are recording this one, and I will make sure to post it and send it out.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Other questions or comments? In the chat we have, can we get a list of examiner emails? Do you all give out examiner emails, Angela?
We do not. And the reason is our email is not encrypted. So we can't receive or send anything that has PII. So our examiners are not allowed to email anyone.
Gotcha. But I can make sure to send out these slides, if that's okay, Angela, that have...
Absolutely. Yes.
Great. That have the phone numbers on them.
Yes, please do so.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the new initiative that, trying to find that slide, here we go, on the new initiative that Angela shared about, where we can fax in for status updates? Catherine, I think you're talking, but you're muted. There should be like a microphone down at the bottom of your screen. There we go.
Okay. I'm sorry. What kind of information are we going to be able to get back from those requests? Like, are we going to be able to find out what the outstanding medical evidence that the examiners are waiting for? Which ones? So
Yes.
we can go after those.
Yes. And they'll also be able to tell you if the case is closed and has been sent back to the field office. But yes, they will be able to provide what outstanding medical sources, work history, activities of daily living, anything that the examiner is waiting on.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Other questions or thoughts for Angela? Usually we're like tripping over each other to ask questions. Let's see, we have one in the chat. Can we contact more frequently than every 30 days by fax for Terry, Cal, QDD, etc. type cases?
No, it's just once a month per claimant.
Any other thoughts folks have? Oh, here we go. We are so this is from the group in Guilford at the Servant Center. We are using the attorney fax and it works great. The only drawback is that it's once a month and we need more frequency with SOAR claims.
Yes, and you can certainly contact the SOAR examiner as well. This is just through the call center that it's once a month.
That's a good point, Angela. Thank you. All right, we're going once. I know. I think that's everything that folks have for you, Angela. If anyone didn't get to ask a question or give a comment, oh, sorry, there was one more that just snuck in. We are having difficulty getting calls back from examiners. Any suggestions?
No, unfortunately. I know that examiners will actively call you if there's needed information. Um, you can always email me. I certainly, anytime I get an email from you guys, I forward it. No, I don't forward your email, but I do let the examiner know that you've called or you're needing status, um, need an update, and I certainly don't mind doing that. But I can promise you that examiners will call you if they need something.
Great. And another question in the chat to clarify, the attorney fax will have examiner info.
Oh, that I do not. I do not believe that they will, but I can certainly find out.
Thank you, Angela. That would be great. Anything else on anyone's mind while we have Angela with us? A follow-up question, what is the best way to find out examiner info?
The call center.
All right, folks, well, we will take Angela off the hot seat. Like I said, if there are any questions that you think of later or you weren't fast enough kind of getting them in the chat, I'm going to save our chat record, and I'm happy to send those along to Angela by email. So just feel free to keep adding things. And thank you so much, Angela. You're welcome to stay and hear some more, or I know you're very busy and you're totally welcome to take off as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will stop sharing my screen again, and I will hand it over to Chris Kennedy, who is our SOAR rep at the area director's office.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for inviting me to the meeting again this year. For those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Chris Kennedy. I am the SOAR liaison for North Carolina. I'm also the area work incentive coordinator for North Carolina, and that's pretty much my primary role. And usually when I do these meetings, I just kind of like to give you a little bit of background, and then we'll kind of go over the topics that I want to go over with you guys today, and then just like with Miss Angela, we'll have a Q&A session. But I've been with the agency coming up on 20 years now. I've been in this role for a year. It seems like we just had the 2020 SOAR annual meeting. That was actually one of the first things that I did when I got into this role. And I'm happy to say that Sarah and I have communicated somewhat frequently throughout the year, just about different issues and cases, and I'm glad to be a point of contact for SOAR. But throughout the year, most of my SOAR issues that I get involved in is usually someone will email me if there's they can't get a hold of someone at the FO, or if there's the most common thing, believe it or not, that I was contacted about throughout the year was EXRs. I had multiple representatives to contact me throughout the year due to something going on with the EXR. Either it was stuck in the FO, or it had they didn't know if it had been if the paper folder had been created and if it was transferred to DDS. I was contacted a couple times throughout the year about technical denial issues where the claimant wasn't eligible, but they couldn't get an answer from the field office. And I'll be the first kind of to tell you guys, if you guys have ever heard me speak before, I'm pretty transparent about what I can be or when I can be. But, a big challenge that we faced during the pandemic is being able to contact the FO. With the phone systems and everything, it's just not a perfect scenario. And I usually use an example of, if Disney World has 20 entrances and now we're going down to one or two entrances, that kind of illustrates what's going on with our phones right now. You know, I used to work in a small field office where we saw about 500 people a week. Now that's a small field office. So you can imagine an office like Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh. Those people don't have access to the lobby anymore. So you know what they're doing? They're calling in to the phone line. So it's extremely difficult to reach or get into the phone system with Social Security. But again, I think that's part of the reason why I'm contacted and emailed, and I'm glad to be that contact to help facilitate action. But and I'll share my email with you guys and my phone number, before I end the presentation. But that's a snapshot of kind of my role in the SOAR as far as SOAR goes. Most of when I was contacted in 2021 was about EXR issues and 1696 issues as well. That always seems to be kind of like a hot topic with SOAR. I shared with Sarah earlier in the year. I just kind of reiterated a policy that wasn't new, but just reiterated a policy of how we can accept photocopies and faxes of the 1696. I think there was maybe a misconception at some point that we actually had to have a wet signature. There does have to be a wet signature, but that can be retained either by the claimant or the representative. That wet signature does not actually have to go to Social Security. Um, and hopefully that information made at least for some of you guys made the process a little bit more efficient. But I'll be talking about something going on with the 1696 a little bit later also. Um, some of the topics I just want to hit. I'm going to talk a little bit about online services, Social Security's coronavirus page, the SSI claims taken initiative that I want you guys to kind of be aware of, and that little nugget about the 1696. I'll share some information with you about that. But during this whole pandemic, whenever I do third-party presentations or just talking to any organizations outside of Social Security, I like to say, hey, we're still Social Security. We're still providing services. The way we are providing those services has shifted. We're doing a lot of phone services, mail-in services, online services, and we do have certain scenarios which allow people to come into the field office, but the field office is not open per se the way it was, 2 or 3 years ago, when you would have a lobby of 20 or 30 people into the field office. It's just not. We're not able to accommodate that right now with everything going on with the pandemic. But if you meet certain scenarios, you can make an appointment approved by management of that local office to see if you can come into the field office. Now, the big question is always, well, how do I know if I meet that criteria? So there's a couple websites that I'm going to share with you guys, and you may already be up to speed on these websites, but these websites have some links that kind of discuss and talk about what scenario has to be in place in order for you to get an appointment with a local Social Security office. And the bottom line with that, after I share these websites with you, it's still up to that manager. So everything is not. You just can't go into the website and say, okay, I meet this, this, and this. I'm definitely going to get an appointment. If you read over it and say, yeah, I think I fall into that scenario, then you should have the claimant to call that. You or the claimant should call the local office to try and get an appointment. But the websites are, and again, I'll share, and I apologize for not doing this on the front end, but I'll share either through PowerPoint slides or through just an email. I'll share this with Sarah so she can kind of pass it along to everybody. But the website, one of the websites is ssa.gov/coronavirus. That also obviously has updates about, what's going on with Social Security in terms of the coronavirus, how we're currently conducting business. If you have an enumeration issue, like if you're trying to get a Social Security card, it has a link for hearings and appeals and overpayment. So there's tons of information just on the coronavirus page. And the other website is the third party, sorry, the other website is information for people helping others. So this is specifically for organizations who are helping people to file Social Security claims, or trying to help people if they're trying to get replacement cards, or just trying to get general information about Social Security. That website is ssa.gov/third-party. And again, ssa.gov third party, and the other one was ssa.gov/coronavirus. But I'll send Sarah uh, those in an email just so you guys have those. But like I said, we're still providing pretty much the same services as we were before. If someone needs to file a disability claim, if someone needs to file a retirement claim, all those things can be done. Instead of going to the FO asking for an appointment, you just call in for an appointment. You can go online and file those claims yourself. Obviously, and I know you guys know a lot of this, but um, the that third party website is really good though. Just it's a good resource because you guys all know you may have someone who you're assisting filing a disability claim with, but they might have another issue, like they might be trying to get a replacement Social Security card, or they might need a benefit verification if someone else in their family is already receiving a benefit. So all those links will kind of on that ssa.gov/third party website. The other big thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is the SSI Claims Taking Initiative, and I don't know if you guys have heard about this or are aware of it, but since it's so closely related to SOAR, but it's different from SOAR, I want you guys to be aware of it. Nationally, Social Security during the pandemic has noticed a significant decrease in SSI claims or SSI applications. So in 2020, they noticed this and they started, some of the public affairs specialists throughout the nation and region started doing outreach events to third parties just to kind of make them aware, hey, we're still open, because when all this happened with the pandemic and when we closed our doors, a lot of people just assumed, oh, the Social Security office is closed. They would drive by an office and not see any cars there and oh, Social Security is closed. When in fact, we never closed. Well, again, we just kind of shifted from face-to-face service to phone service, mail service, and online service. But the that national decrease in SSI applications kind of made the agency think about, hey, what is actually going on here? There are people in our community and the population that don't have access to Social Security right now. Again, if we're talking about people facing a barrier, who might be homeless or someone just recently released from prison, that vulnerable population, we wanted to specifically target those individuals and try to come up with a campaign so we could reach out to them. So myself and the public affairs specialist for North Carolina, Lisa Wallace, we started this initiative, kicked off around March of 2021. Lisa was working on it before, and then I joined in March of 2021. So we emailed about 350 organizations in North Carolina to kind of let them know, hey, this is kind of what's happening. We need your help to see if you have access to this vulnerable population. And when people started responding to our emails, we started setting up training so we could train organizations on how to take SSI applications. Now, and we invited, the first training session that we did, we invited SOAR so they could kind of see, what it was that we were doing. And so again, we could kind of talk about this initiative. And I want to say that was probably back in March, April timeframe. And since then, Lisa and I have held several training sessions. We actually have one tomorrow where we have 36 organizations that are going to be joining. So it kind of snowballed somewhat. The last training session we did last month had 40 organizations. This one has 36. The first time we started earlier in the year, and the second time we only had a couple organizations that we were able to reach. But I think now that the word has gotten out about this outreach and initiative, the more recent training sessions that we've held, that there's lots of organizations that are interested in this. And again, we're just trying to teach them, what's going on this is how you take an SSI application. If you can assist, great. Because we still feel like as an agency, there's this part of the population we want to make sure that they still have access to services. And again, you guys kind of all know that because it sounds very similar to SOAR, and it is. And another reason I wanted to bring this up today is, it, you guys, and to highlight also, let me back up. I definitely want to highlight, like, if you're a SOAR person or representative, we can't you can't be a part of the SSI Claims Taking Initiative. It's two separate things. So SOAR, we already have kind of a workflow and how we're to go about doing this process. With the SSI Claims Taking Initiative, it's completely different. But again, they're so similar. I wanted to kind of, again, tell you guys about it, make sure you're aware of it. Um, and for whatever reason, if you had an individual or if you knew organizations that might not be a part of SOAR, but that you might think could benefit from this other outreach, please have them to call me or Lisa Wallace. And again, I'll give you my phone number and email and all that good stuff at the end. Because again, at the end of the day, it's about making sure this part of the population has access, whether it's through SOAR or whether it's through this SSI Claims Taking Initiative or outreach. What else do I have for you guys? Oh, the 1696. So, and this is kind of, I don't have a whole lot of details on this, but again, it's something I just kind of want you guys to aware of it and to be hopeful. And along with what Angela shared about that faxing system, I mean, I think there's a lot of positives in terms of automation and the system kind of helping give you guys the updates you need. And I know, again, one of the big issues that I was brought into with SOAR in 2020, 2021 was the whole 1696. Like, hey, I can't get the information I need because Social Security is saying they don't have the 1696, or DDS is saying they don't have the 1696. So that's always kind of been a big contention because you guys can't really do your job unless that's in file and everyone's kind of on the same page. So Systems is currently working on an update that will allow automation between Razor, which is one of Social Security systems, the registration, appointment, and services for representatives, and the electronic folder. So what does that mean? So right now, if we enter a 1696 in the system, Social Security system, there still has to be kind of like a manual update in the electronic folder to kind of sync those systems up. And that 1696 needs to be an electronic folder so the DDS examiners can see it. Okay, so the update is just as simple. It's just they're trying to work on an internal connection. So when the field office inputs that representative information in Razor, then it's automatically updated in the electronic folder, and there's not that need for the manual update to happen. And what that means to you guys is just it'll be more consistent when the field office enters that in, um, or if you guys go online and do it, um, that it should just be easier and a smoother process for that to actually show up in the electronic folder. So when you call DDS, they can say, "Oh, yep, I see you guys on file." Um, and unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of details about it now. It's just something that I was made aware of just last week. So I think the update's going to happen in December. So hopefully, if I can get some more information on that, I can pass it on to Sarah and she can share it with you guys. But again, at the end of the day, it's just kind of making, if that happens or when it happens, that'll just kind of make it a more efficient process when you're trying to call in and get the status you need or get the information that you guys need. And that is really all I have. Um, so I'm happy to field any questions from you guys.
That's great, Chris. That's exciting that there might be some more streamlining between the offices. That's really historic, I'd say. I was wondering if you can also just touch really briefly on the cost of living adjustment. It seemed like we got a pretty big raise this year.
We did, yeah. It was 5.9%, which that's one of the largest ones that we've had. And kind of coinciding with that, when people want to talk about the COLA, they want to talk about the Medicare increase also. That was the base SMI or Part B premium went up to $170 for 2022. And that when you have those in conjunction, that kind of gives a person a good idea of what their net benefit may be in 2022.
Chris. We did have a question in the chat, kind of about it. It seems like larger SSA goals. So they said, since SOAR is so similar to VPAP, which is the program that Chris was talking about with third-party folks doing SSI applications, and seems to target individuals, why could we not put more effort and resources into the SOAR initiative instead of starting a whole new initiative?
That's a good question. And the answer probably lies above my pay grade, to be honest with you. But I think there were so many things that were happening during the pandemic, and I just think higher level executives were just trying to um, uh, make an appropriate response. So I don't know is the short answer to that question. I don't know why they didn't try to just kind of maybe reevaluate SOAR and put more resources into that instead of coming up with something different. And again, my thing is, at the end of the day, I want whoever that person is who doesn't have access, I want them to have access. Whether that's a homeless person, someone at risk of being homeless, someone with a mental disability, I want that person to be able to have access. So however we can assist them, whether it's through SOAR or whether it's through the SSI Second Initiative. But again, I don't know, unfortunately, to answer that question. Since SOAR was already in place, maybe it would have made sense to kind of reevaluate and kind of beef up that program and add resources to it instead of coming up with another one. But I don't know why.
Thanks, Chris. Well, we are always open when Social Security wants to pump some resources into us. We love the partnership. Another question that came through the chat, if the SSI application could be completed online for anyone, not just the restricted, it would help. It would also help if the online disability application, SSDI, had the option to upload the rep forms and other forms like the recon does. One of the biggest issues we encounter is SOAR is that our rep form is not uploaded, especially that when there is delay between us filing online and getting the forms to SSA, either by dropping them off or mailing them. Several SSA SOAR liaisons are only working 3 days a week, have limited time in the office and other duties. They aren't assigned SOAR claims, but try to support our work. It would be great if SOAR liaisons could be involved with work group meetings. And Chris, work group meetings are locally in some of the bigger metropolitan areas. SOAR case managers come together about once a month to kind of share issues that are going on and kind of support each other through cases and different challenges. So this person is saying it would be great if SOAR liaisons could be involved with work group meetings so we can work through issues and build working relationships. I think more support and effort should be made to improving access to SOAR. So I guess that was just kind of a comment for you to hear some of the challenges that are happening with the field office.
Definitely. And a couple of things I'll respond to, like with the SSI claims online. Yes, it is limited right now to where there's only a small portion of individuals who can actually file the SSI claim online. Like, one of the screen out criteria is if you filed before, you can't file online, and there's system enhancements that have to happen in order to kind of expand that. And it's relatively in its infancy, so to speak. I mean, they just started the SSI claim online a couple years ago, so I would imagine that that's going to continue to be expanded upon, and eventually we'll get there to where there's less restrictions on who can file online. And same thing, I hear what you're saying about the forms and everything you can do on initial claims. And again, we are constantly looking at system enhancements to kind of revise and change some of these online systems to kind of make everything more efficient. But I 100% agree with you that if there was more of a connect between the online system, the field office, and DDS, if all that was on one page, half the SOAR issues would disappear, I think. So again, I know those things will be resolved in the future. It's just going to take some of those systems enhancements to help us out. And One thing that I'm going to be working on, and I promise, because I promised Sarah this last year and it didn't happen, but I'm going to get an updated list of all the SOAR liaisons in the field offices and provide to her so she can share with you guys. One of the kind of challenges that I've had, there were two listings that I was working on last year. The what we call the wheel, which is the work incentive liaison, and the SOAR liaison. I was able to get the wheel contacts all updated and send those to various third parties. And I'm in the process. I'm almost finished with the SOAR, but the North Carolina area just recently went through a massive systems migration where we're going like from these certain set of databases to like SharePoint databases, and that should be completed in about a week or two. So after that migration finishes, then I'll be able to kind of update the databases and get all the SOAR contact info out to you guys. And a big part of it, just like with anything in life, is communication. If you guys have a local SOAR liaison that you can reach out to and kind of build relationships with, that's kind of like the starting block, um, and that foundational relationship that you need to have to be able to kind of make everything feel um, more efficient and more seamless. You got to contact, and once those relationships are built, then that person in that field office might be more amenable to allow that SOAR liaison to participate in some of these outreach events or work groups that you're talking about.
It's a good idea, Chris. Thank you. We had another vote for having the SSI application online. So it's good to hear you're saying you think that that's sort of in the works, in process.
It is, and again, I'm just thinking about back in my claims days when I was a claims representative, and thinking about the whole online process started. I mean, 20 years ago, I just think about when this was before we had EDCS and the electronic folder. We were creating the paper folders, and I would um, pull out my phone book in my cubicle and search for the doctor's name and address and put it in there. I mean, we've come a long way, and it's a huge, almost Herculean effort when you think of an agency that was doing everything by paper. And yes, it's taken a long time to get where we are now. And to think about, hey, you can just file a claim, submit it, and it's at DDS that same day. Versus, like I said, in my old example, when I was pulling out the phone book and mailing things. So we're definitely going to get there, but the SSI part of it is still relatively new, with it just being an application that started a couple years ago. But yes, there'll definitely be enhancements on that.
Thanks, Chris. We have about 10 more minutes with Chris, and we have two more comments in the chat. So a couple of concerns about VPAP. One person said, is there going to be technical support available for people who are doing the VPAP applications? Many people who are experiencing homelessness, have mental and intellectual challenges, may not have the capability to complete the applications without assistance. I'm concerned they will not be able to navigate such a complex process. As we all know, it takes a great deal of training to complete applications. I worry that even those in local agencies will not have the training to successfully complete applications. So I think the main takeaway of that is wondering, is there sort of like ongoing support for folks who are doing the VPAP applications?
Yeah, so basically, I'll kind of surmise how we're doing that. So tomorrow's training session, for example, I told you we had 36 organizations. So Lisa Wallace and I will hold like a 3.5, 4 hour training session to kind of go through all the forms that are associated with an SSI claim. And then that organization will be filling out the application. So it's not necessarily the claimant or the applicant. So once they submit that application, there are, just like the SOAR liaisons, there are vulnerable population liaisons in the field office to kind of follow up with and provide technical support to that organization that submitted the application. And again, I want to reiterate this because I want you guys to feel just as important as the vulnerable population liaisons. I do want to make a good effort to get you the contact for the local SOAR liaison, so you also have that technical support and you have a contact if there's any issues that need to be addressed, along with my contacts again that I'll share at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Chris. And similar along that vein that you just kind of addressed, someone asked, would it be possible for SOAR leaders to sit at the table with SSA in regards to VPAP? I'm a bit concerned that VPAP could end up being a competitor and we might see less SOAR claims.
Yeah, that's a good point, and definitely. I mean, see, this is the reason why I'm glad that I'm able to participate in this call, because I've never thought of it as a competition, but hearing you guys think that, it's a valid concern. So that's something that I can kind of share with my higher ups, and they can get it to the leadership that needs to hear it, so you guys can get the support that you need to get. Yeah, I'll definitely pass that concern on.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you being so open to that. Somebody agreeing about that concern. Any other questions or concerns? We have probably about a little less than 5 minutes with Chris while he's on with us.
I do. I have a concern. So
Okay.
my concern is that we as SOAR workers, we work with this most vulnerable population as well, and it kind of makes us feel some kind of way that we don't have a liaison that we can connect with. I couldn't tell you who it is in the Raleigh area. I've not been able to get anyone in that area. And it's like we don't have the support that we need. And then up pops this new program, and they have liaisons, and they're going to have technical support. And we can barely get through to the disability call center to leave a message. We're barely getting through getting what we need. And then here's this other program off and running, and all the systems are in place. It kind of makes you feel some kind of way. And then our cases are taking so much longer now. Even compassionate allowances are taking, are so long now. So it's just, I'm just, could you just please help us understand? That's all.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I sincerely hear the concern in your voice, but the SOAR liaisons have always, there are SOAR liaisons in the field offices, and that's why, again, I just want to stress that I'll get that contact information to Ms. Sarah as soon as I can. That way, you have that contact. So if there's an issue, you can reach out to them. And then two, on another hierarchy is, if once you get that contact, if you're still not getting the assistance that you need, then you can reach out to me, and that's why I'll provide my contact information. Yeah, the SOAR liaisons have been in place, so it's not that there are no SOAR liaisons. You guys might not know the appropriate channels, and again, that just stresses the importance to me to get that contact information to Sarah so she can share it with you guys.
That would be great, Chris. Yeah, and we appreciate you saying that if we still really can't reach our liaisons and are having consistent trouble, then we can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
In our last couple minutes with Chris, anyone else? Things they want to add?
This is Melissa again. I'm still having trouble with, and I'm not sure if this is appropriate to ask him at this time, but just that SSA listing, the blue book, and then trying to match up what the patient's diagnoses are. If you don't have medical terminology, it's hard to, sometimes for me, it's hard to determine when I'm looking at the blue book, if that patient really fits. Like there's a lot of, ands, ors, and sometimes that's difficult. Is there any course like YouTube or anything that can help us break it down? Like, especially because I don't know, the people that I work with, we don't have any medical terminology. So some of the medical records and trying to read through it and trying to make sense of it, I'm literally Googling medical terms, trying to figure out what I'm looking at so that I can, fit and see if that patient really is, really will possibly have an approval. Am I making any sense, or am I on the wrong page, or does anybody else understand what I'm saying?
You're making perfect sense, Melissa. And actually, other Melissa said that she would love a training on using the listings. I think that may be more DDS's purview. Um, and it may be something also that I can develop in helping you all use the listings. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Chris, even though it's kind of more of a DDS thing. But if you, in your many years of experience, if you have thoughts, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a DDS thing. I can kind of check and spitball with the North Carolina DDS liaison to see if there's any resources that she's aware of, and I'm happy to kind of talk with her and get back with you, Sarah.
I'm still on the call.
Oh, Angela. Great.
I'm sorry to interrupt. No, I cannot think of anything. I can certainly ask higher ups here as well. I understand that frustration. To be an examiner here, we go through 3 months of medical modules. So I'm not sure if that's something we can share, but I can certainly ask. A condensed version. Clearly, you don't have that kind of time. But yes, that is something I can certainly ask.
That'd be great. And we have people chiming in the chat that would be great and they'd be really interested.
I have something to add. This is Catherine Winston. If you were looking at those listings, and that's excellent that we're doing that, that is just a really hard thing. I used to be a disability examiner, and I myself have difficulty with it, and I went through the training. So if you're even thinking it might meet the listings, it's just good to submit that. A seasoned examiner will also probably have to have it reviewed by their unit doctor. So if it's something you can't really tell, go ahead and submit it. And they're the professionals. They're going to see if it meets the listings. I've had that same problem myself. I really can't tell, but that's why we submit claims, so that there can be a determination. We have a medical consultant. We are so privileged here. We have a volunteer radiologist that's been, used to teach medical school. He's a radiologist like 25 or 30 years, and he looks at our cases if we have a problem. So we actually have a doctor that's helping us. I feel for you, because it's difficult. It's not easy to chime in with that terminology.
That's so awesome, Catherine. I like that advice to err on the side of submitting it and let DDS.
You want to submit your claim if you're looking at a listings and you think it might be close, because there's a lot of things that we can do to help them meet the listings, to get additional information. That's our job, is to close that gap for them.
Okay. Does anyone on the call, Angela or Miss Winston, anyone have a website? Like, is there a website that you use a lot of for just basic medical terminology? I'm Googling and I'm hoping I'm right, because stuff that everything that's on the internet is not necessarily true. But sometimes I'll Google just that diagnosis that's in the medical record, and I'll say SSA listing, and it'll sort of point me to which one of those 12 I need to go to try to find that, that illness. Sometimes I just don't know which category it's in.
Go with the body system, Melissa. You won't always, these body systems are the big kicker, and then you look under the body system and do the best you can. Like I said, we have a medical consultant. When we get into those, especially some of those blood disorders and carcinomas, it's hard for us because we're not doctors. We're not medical specialists. And even some of those trained disability examiners, even the seasoned ones, have to go to their unit doctor and ask. They have to look over a lot of values. I know the biggest problem I have is with end-stage liver disease and heart problems. Like, there's no way you're going to read an EKG, so you just have to go submit your claim and hope for the best. Sometimes that's all you can do.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I was going
Hey,
to say, Melissa, Kat put one resource in the chat that might be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, Kat.
hey, Sarah,
Yes.
remember when Julia Gamble came and did the SOAR luncheon? She
Yes,
gave
the nurse
remember
practitioner.
she gave us the medical um website for medical to look up the medical stuff. So I think that'll help her. Remember she
That's a
gave
really
2
good idea,
websites.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look that up. Thank you for that reminder. And someone else in the chat said you can Google compassionate allowance and it will help you with some of those medical conditions that are eligible in SSA. That's another good place to start. Well, we are a little bit over time actually for Chris and Angela, so I want to respect their time. Again, if you have other questions or comments, this is not your only opportunity. Please feel free to put them in the chat and I will get them to Angela and Chris, and I know they'll be happy to answer those. We are going to take about a 5-minute break and come back, and then I will share my piece about kind of our outcomes for the year and goals that I have for us in the new year. Angela and Chris, again, you're totally welcome to join us for that and hear that. But if you are busy, we take no offense if you need to get off the call as well. So thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome, and please email me anything you need, and I will certainly follow up on these 2 questions, and I will get those back to you.
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'll provide my email, my phone, the website, the coronavirus website, and the third-party website, and I will pass the concerns along about SOAR to the higher-ups, and also get the SOAR liaison listing out to you.
That's wonderful, Chris. Thank you. And Melissa, a couple of people have dropped other suggestions in the chat for you, so take a look at that. We will reconvene at 11:10 for the next part. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay, thanks.
This conference will now be recorded.
So hopefully you all had a nice break and you enjoyed the information from SSA and DDS. Again, please feel free to put in the chat or email me any questions or concerns that you didn't get to express on this call, and I am happy to pass this along and get a response or an answer for you. So this section will be, as I said, me talking about kind of the year in review and talking about some goals I have for the new year and wanting to hear some of the goals that you all have for the SOAR program as well. So let's get started. First of all, big thank you to all of you for everything you've done this year. It was still a very challenging year. I know that both personally and professionally. I think for all of us, continuing to go through the pandemic, continuing to have a lot of the challenges of the pandemic follow us into this year with our SOAR cases. So I just appreciate so much the resilience that you all have shown and how you have continued to serve the most vulnerable people, period, in our state. I hope you all will give yourselves a huge pat on the back for that. And also folks who said that they wanted to incorporate more self-care into the new year, please do that as well, because this is not an easy job. And just want to say, if you don't hear it from anyone else, you'll hear from me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So starting off everything we're going to talk about from a place of gratitude for all of you in this program. A quick overview of some of the major things we saw in 2021. As I said, the pandemic unfortunately continued. We as a state transitioned to the OAT reporting system. So instead of submitting our case outcomes through fax and through email, manually we started using the national SOAR TA Center's outcome reporting system. We started doing that in July of this year. The DDS call center did return to the office. Unfortunately, as Angela mentioned, we did not see that really improving our call waiting times. But I am glad to hear from her that they recognize that as a problem and are going to be hiring more people onto the call center. And most exciting for me, we hired on a new project assistant, Adriana Diaz, who many of you had interactions with while I was on maternity leave. And she has been a huge help in responding to all the calls and emails that we get, especially for folks looking for SOAR case managers. So thank you, Adriana, for joining the team. It's been great to have you on. We also did a bunch of dialogue calls, one almost every month this year. I think we missed a couple while I was on maternity leave. A few of the topics, just to remind you, that we touched on was we had DDS come and talk to us about how we could improve our applications. We had somebody from the Medicaid office in Charlotte teach us the importance of doing concurrent Medicaid applications if we're able to, and how to improve those applications. We talked a ton about transitioning to OAT. We got all of your thoughts on it. We had training, multiple trainings on how to use the new OAT system. So hopefully everyone is feeling more comfortable with that system. We talked about how to strengthen our MSRs, although I hear we definitely still need more on the listings. So I'm excited that Angela might have some resources for us in using the Blue Book listings for our MSRs. Post-entitlement events, so things that can happen like benefits getting suspended or terminated, or adjustments in what folks are getting paid and what we can do about that if we kind of have ongoing case management relationships with our clients. And then finally, we had a great presentation. I heard it was great. I wasn't there because I was on maternity leave. From Sumitra and Pam at the National SOAR TA Center, all about appeals, so the recon level, and also ALJ hearings. So we had lots of great trainings this year, and I hope we'll keep up that robust program for next year. I wanted to show first, this is cumulative outcome. So since, how long have we been in existence? I think since 2010. These are all of our outcomes combined. So in that amount of time, we have done 3,878 applications, which is amazing. That is a ton of lives that we have touched across North Carolina. We've had 2,863 of those approved for a total of 74% approval rating, which is huge because you may or may not know this. Across the country, folks who are experiencing homelessness only have their cases approved about 21% of the time. SSA cases approved 21% of the time, and we are cumulatively at 74%. So that is amazing and really speaks to all the hard work that you all put into it. I do want to acknowledge that we've had, over the course of the program, 15 deaths, unfortunately. So folks, clients who did die before they were able to get a decision. And I can only imagine how heartbreaking that is for the SOAR case managers who worked with them, and really recognizing that they absolutely needed those benefits. And unfortunately, it was able to happen. So far, cumulatively, we are at an average time of 121 days. So if I'm doing quick math on that, that's about 4.5 months or so we're at for getting a response. I know we're seeing cases that are taking, this is of course an average of all the cases. About 35% of our, I'm getting a message that my sound might not be so good, so I'm going to go off camera to help my internet here. Sorry about that, folks. In terms of CEs, about a third of cases require CEs, 35%. And since June of 2010, when we started tracking this, until June of 2021, when we unfortunately stopped tracking this because we started using the OAT system, we have brought in over $38 million into the state through benefits. And the way we calculate that number is that is the client's back plus the first year of benefits. So it's not even what they're getting over their lifetime. It's just that first year of getting benefits. $38 million. That is a huge number, and just awesome to see. So congratulations, everybody, on that. I did want to drill down a little bit into this year specifically. So the outcomes were not as strong this year as we saw cumulatively. I am not surprised about that because, as we mentioned, the pandemic continues to rage on. We had the field offices continue to be closed. I know we had lots of turnover, unfortunately, in SOAR case managers across the state. So we did see a little bit of a dip, and we're going to talk about that, but I don't want folks to get scared about it. I want it to just kind of motivate us to come back even stronger in 2022. So in 2021, we did a total of 205 cases. 121 of those were approved. That approval rate comes out to 59%. So we can see that's lower than our cumulative, which is 74%. When I look at the OAT system, which is only the outcome since July, we're actually already at a higher number. We're at 5%. So from December 2020 to November 2021, we're at 59%. But when I just look at July 2021 through November 2021, I see that we're already at 65%. So we're on the rise there, which I was really happy to see. Our average time for completion for getting a decision is 132 days. So a little bit longer there than our cumulative, right? And I think we're not surprised based anecdotally on what I'm hearing that it's taking a little bit longer to get those decisions. And similar to our cumulative data, we are at about a third of cases are requiring CEs, that DDS says that they need more information. Drilling down even a little bit more into those outcomes, I made some graphs for you all. Number of cases per year, you can see we are way down for 2021. So I was a little bit surprised to see that we were at a little over 200 cases, and even last year we were closer to like 340, 330 or so. So we are way down in the number of cases that we have gotten decisions on, and that you all have sent in outcomes for. So thoughts I have about this are, one, I'm wondering if folks, somebody asked if I could email the graph after the presentation. Absolutely, I'm happy to share all these slides. One thing I'm wondering about this number is if folks are submitting outcomes as much since we moved to the OAT system, because I know with change there can be a transition and folks who need more time to adjust to the system. I do wonder, with all of the turnover in folks that we've had this year, we've seen across the nation, they're calling it the Great Resignation, right? Where folks are leaving the workforce or taking other jobs. And I think we've seen that a bit in the SOAR program. So I'm wondering if part of this number is just true. We're seeing fewer cases. But I was definitely surprised to see that we've just submitted a lot less. I was hoping that DDS, as they normally do, would tell us how many cases they've seen from us. But as Angela said, because of their new system not flagging cases as SOAR, they're not able to tell us how many cases. I suspect that we have more than this because they're adding examiners. As you heard, we're now going to have 9 examiners. And it seems to me like they wouldn't assign us more examiners if we didn't have more cases that they needed to process. So I'm really curious about that number. I wonder if folks have any other thoughts on that, why we've seen kind of a decrease in the cases.
I believe it's the OAT.
The
I think
OAT.
it's the reporting. I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, I had that thought too. Any other folks have thoughts? So maybe I will try to do it in the least annoying way possible, but I may nudge folks a little bit more about submitting outcomes into OAT, because we do really want to see our numbers and see all the good work that you all are doing in the year. And so whatever I can do to help you feel more comfortable to use the OAT system, please let me know. We did have good news with the average decision days by year. You can see in 2020, at the start of the pandemic, we went way up where we were seeing like over 300 days, right? That's like, what is that, 3/4 of a year to get a response back. And we're back down into kind of much more normal levels around looking at that like 4.5-month mark to get a decision back. So we're still, as you can see across the years, we're still higher than in any other year but 2020. So we are still seeing cases take a little bit longer, but nowhere near the kind of difficulty that we were seeing in 2020. I am still hearing from all of you that cases are taking longer, so I don't know how accurate that number is, since we only had 200 and some cases reported in OAT. That's what, this is based on. So it may be that there are cases that you all haven't sent in yet, and we'll see that kind of reflected in future years, how long the cases are taking, but at least the cases I have, we're seeing them take less time. Do folks have thoughts on that? Is that reflective of what you're seeing? Are the numbers getting better for you? And you can feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to unmute.
Sarah, this is Catherine.
Hey.
We had a great year. Our fiscal year last year down here, we won 100 cases. That's the highest number of wins we've ever had. But some of those were Medicaid only. So you probably that didn't reflect in some of the, our hospital requires us to report a win as a Medicaid win too. So if it was Medicaid only, that that number would be less. Well, we had probably our best year of SOAR ever down here. In
That's so great to hear.
Our fiscal year ended in July, so that was
Right.
July of 2019 to July of 2020.
Right. That is so great. So maybe this is a more accurate number that we're seeing the average days to decision go down. Had Catherine say in the chat, I find OAT very easy to use, and if anything, it has improved the efficiency of my outcome reporting. That's awesome, Catherine. I know you are a super user of OAT, and you definitely report your outcomes. So that's good to hear for maybe some of the folks who are feeling a little more hesitant about using it.
Well, we've assigned a person that's familiar with that system. I don't use it personally, but we have our housing specialist is our OAT specialist. So we turn in all our outcomes to one person who is familiar with that. So yeah, I'm just no, don't give me credit because I didn't like the change at all. I was jumping on outcomes like crazy until the new system, and then I assigned it to somebody else. So,
And that works. There's another agency, the Servant Center in Guilford, that they do that as well. They assign one person to put in all the outcomes. So you're welcome to do that too.
if you don't use it often, I find it really difficult to reacquaint myself every time I have to do an outcome. It's really hard for me to reacquaint myself. So we just pile up outcomes and then we turn them into one person. I bet a lot of people are trying to do that. I know, we save them so that one person can do data entry, and they don't do it every day. So there is a lag now for you getting our outcomes because we wait till all the information's in, then we report the outcome, and sometimes it's going to take a month or two for you to get it. So
Right.
I think it's a big lag down
As
here.
long as we have it in there, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we're conscious of doing it. We have developed our own different system for dealing with that.
Yeah. Chelsea said in the chat, we have noticed the time delay is not as bad, though we still have some cases that are taking longer due to the struggle DDS is having scheduling CEs, right? Recons do seem to be too fast. So it would be interesting if I broke up the data by initials versus recons. Chelsea also says, I'm enjoying OAT. I only had one issue when they did a system update. The OAT support team was quick in resolving the issue. I found that too, that OAT is really, the SOAR TA Center is really responsive about any OAT issues. Kat says, my biggest delays were with the local field offices not uploading the 1696s or transferring the cases to DBS in a timely manner. Yep. Oh, okay. It's actually Jennifer, not Chelsea. That's good to know. Okay. Yeah, totally, Kat. We are continuing to see the 1696 issues. I hear that. Wanted to look at the approval rate by year. Again, I don't want us to be too scared about this number dipping down. We do see, that our approval rate is kind of going down every year. But when I look at the second half of this year, we're already back up to 65%. So I do think that folks are being conscientious and trying to really think about how to improve cases. I do want us, of course, as a state to watch this and to I want to be able to provide support and technical assistance for folks who need it. And I think the OAT system is helping me identify folks who maybe do need a little bit more help on their cases, and that's totally okay, especially newer case managers, folks who are having difficulty with field offices. You know, I've heard it all, and it will never be a gotcha. It's only just trying to get more clients approved for benefits. So, but just important to see that we do see this trend of going down a little bit. So we want to think about this together as a state. Good news, even though I'm hearing from all of you that there are missing 1696 happening, I've been tracking them actually. Angela from DDS has been sending them to me every week, actually, every time she has them. And we've seen a huge decrease in this. You know, we started off that we were having like 17 go missing a month. And you can see now by November, we're only having like 1 or 2. So the ones that I'm seeing, at least, that number is going down, and I'm hopeful. What I've been doing is sending the list to Chris at the Social Security ADO office every time I get it, and he is, I think, reaching out to the field office. That was the deal that we had, and figuring out what's happening. So hopefully that is. It seems like it's helping the process a little bit, although I'm still hearing from you that there are delays in this. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is of kind of not seeing that from DDS, but hearing that from you all. I don't know if folks have thoughts on that. And it could be that we're submitting fewer cases, so we're also seeing less 1696s. You know, it might not be as reflective of a process working as it is reflective of we're just not submitting as many cases. That I'm not sure. But it looks good from the outside in any case. Okay, if anyone has thoughts on that later, please feel free to share. So that's all the data I have for you. I did want to highlight one thing that the OAT system really showed me when I was looking at data. When I have a question in the chat, so let me pause. Is it possible to do a comparison of missing 1696s to the number of claims submitted? It's hard to do that. I can with the cases that I have, because we don't have the report from DDS that we usually have of how many cases were actually submitted. It's accurate, but I can do that with the cases that I have that you all have reported, which is why it's important, again, for all of you to submit those cases into OAT as much as you can. But I can absolutely try to do that, Jennifer. So yes, one thing I wanted to highlight that I really saw in the OAT system is about medical summary reporting to OAT. So these are all the cases that we've done since July, right? Only 30% of cases included an MSR. And that surprised me because the MSR, the medical summary report, is really kind of a core component of SOAR. We want to be doing an MSR for almost all SOAR cases. If it's a case like a maybe a Terry case or even a compassionate allowance where you just kind of need like a radiology report and then you know it's going to be a slam dunk because it's, you know, one of the or, you know, metastatic cancer and they have like hospice certification and you just know for sure like medically that is going to clear, then yeah, you don't need to kind of waste your time and waste the client's time doing an MSR when it's really that straightforward. But most cases should have a medical summary report. As I think Catherine Winston said it really well, we're really supposed to be closing that gap for DDS, right? And really using our medical summary reports and a narrative to help them understand why this person is impaired enough to meet a listing and to kind of concisely summarize their whole medical and psychological history. So I was surprised only 30% of cases. I was not as surprised to see that only 61% of those MSRs are co-signed. And for those who are newer to SOAR, I'll explain what co-signing is. DDS, when they look at a medical summary report, if it is co-signed by an acceptable medical source, so that is, let me test my memory here, that's MDs, NPs, I think speech language pathologists, and there's one more that I'm forgetting if anyone wants to add it into the chat. If they co-sign an MSR, oh, I think I forgot to say PhD psychologists.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Malik. If they co-sign that MSR, then it's actually considered medical evidence. So rather than just like a collateral source, it's considered medical evidence, and it kind of gets scored higher on their rubric, is how I would explain it. So it's really great when we can get MSRs co-signed. I know this can be difficult because I know if you're not in a medical setting, for instance, practicing in a medical setting, or a psychiatric setting, you may not have a provider there that understands SOAR, understands MSRs, and is willing to co-sign those with you. But as much as we can make relationships with other providers, or even the client's providers, ideally, and have them sign off, that is great. Sometimes what they need to understand is that they are in no way liable if they sign this, right? It's not like anyone will come to them later or take away their license or arrest them or something if DDS says that they are actually not disabled. It just says that they have reviewed the MSR and that they, agree with the opinion that this person does meet a listing for a disability. So that's one thing we can think about in terms of improvement for the next year, is helping folks make more relationships with medical providers so that the hard work that you do on those MSRs gets counted more highly at DDS. I wonder if folks have thoughts on these MSRs. Are you surprised to see this number as low as it is? Is there something that I'm missing about why only 30% of cases have MSRs? And I will say, I know they're a pain. I mean, I totally know that. I know that it's like probably one of the hardest parts of the SOAR process. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of reading over records, a lot of interviewing. It takes really strong writing skills. I know they're not fun. I absolutely know that, but I'm just curious about that number.
Sarah, what I'd always heard was that, as you just said, it takes so much time and individuals have other responsibilities. So unless a person is a dedicated SOAR worker and that's all that they're doing, they don't have time to read the 500, 3,000, or 4,000 pages that come in a medical record. And unfortunately, sometimes, not all the time, there are that many um, pages in a medical record. And I was told a long time ago that you have to read every page because DDS has to read every page when it came to lab reports, because there may be something in a lab report that's significant to why this is a debilitating or disabling condition. And it just seems like people just do not have the time to dedicate to reading, understanding how important the medical summary report is. And if they use the certification tool, it will help them get more information that is relevant for an approval. But the time just does not allow. It is very labor intensive.
I totally hear that, Pamela. Yep. It takes hours and hours of work. And I think you raise a good point that especially if folks aren't dedicated SOAR case managers, what they have to do on top of the SOAR cases um, maybe doesn't lend itself as well to really putting in that time for the MSRs. And I saw Melissa in the chat said it may be due to the pandemic. It took a lot just to get records in 2020. And that's a good point too. The longer you have to wait for the records, the longer it can take you to write that MSR, the more effort. You're kind of waiting for that information. Jennifer said, I would encourage folks to participate in their local work groups for support. There are several resources available on SAMHSA and the NCCH website, but your local liaisons can give some support as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Another issue, Sarah, is we're sitting with the individual in front of us and we meet with them maybe once a week, twice a week. But then when we read the medical documentation, it looks like doctors cut and paste, cut and paste. So a
Mm-hmm.
person may have had a substance abuse issue 15 years ago when they were initially seen at so and so hospital, and they have been in treatment and have been in remission for a number of years, but nowhere in the medical records is that documented. And sometimes a person will go in and doctor, well, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling good today, doctor. But they leave, and 2 days later, they can barely move, or their condition is so, you see it, but because they're not at the doctor's office, they don't see it. And a lot of people will go to the doctor and instead of saying how they really feel, and a lot of tests are not run because they have to decide, well, who's going to pay for the test. So if they don't have the right medical coverage, no one is going to pay for certain tests and certain medications, so that individual is not going to get it. It doesn't mean the condition doesn't exist. It means they don't have the medical insurance to cover it. So tests that are necessary, medications that might be better medications are not given because this person can't afford it. We see it as SOAR specialists, but those doctors don't actually see them. Individuals with some severe and persistent mental health issues, they'll go into the doctor's office. The doctor may see them for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, if that long. But we see them on at a longer period of time. And we see them when they start to decompensate. We see them when they break down. We see them going through the episodes, but the doctors don't. So a lot of medical summary reports, we will write what we see. We observe and we write, but then we don't have that solid medical evidence to support what we said. So
Right.
if you're really not into SOAR, and I was, and I still am, but everybody is not, and it's a hard thing. And this VPAP or whatever this new thing is, I'm like Malik, I'm feeling some kind of way. I
Mhm.
really am. And that was my 5 cents, and I'm going to put my change purse away, and I'm not adding anything else. Okay.
Thank you, Camilia. No, I think you're expressing really well all the challenges of the MSR. It's the hardest part, I think, of the SOAR process. Absolutely. And I appreciate everyone expressing so honestly and respectfully to Chris about the VPAP program. I think he really heard that feedback, I think.
Hi,
Um,
Sarah. This is Rocky. I have a question about the
yeah.
VPAP. I'm not familiar with it. Can you just explain a little bit about what type of program it is and who's the who spearheads it?
Yeah, are you talking about the VPAP program?
Yes.
Yeah. So VPAP is the Vulnerable Populations, I don't know what the A is, program that Social Security just started. And basically, they realized during the pandemic that the numbers of people who were submitting SSI claims went way, way down. So they came up with this idea that they would engage third parties like hospitals and nonprofit organizations that are working with vulnerable populations like folks experiencing homelessness, veterans, people who are reentering community after incarceration, and that they would train third party people to help those clients to do claims. So it sounds really familiar, right? Sounds a lot like what we do with SOAR. Um, I think there is some level of expedition that happens with the claims with VPAP, and it sounded today like Chris was saying they also get some technical assistance from Social Security liaisons. So I think a lot of folks, a lot of SOAR folks today were expressing kind of hurt, like, hey, we've had our program existing for over 10 years now. We've been working with these vulnerable populations all along, and we've really been wanting this kind of attention and resource that it seems like the VPAP program is now getting. And it feels like that program is kind of redundant to what we're doing, and we don't want there to be too much kind of competition with SOAR as well. Um, so that was kind of the feedback in a nutshell that we gave to Chris today.
The other piece to that is we're we're talking about the MSR, which paints a picture and gives the story, the background, the history of everything. So what they're looking to do now is get a quantity of cases coming in so that SSA will have something to do. But they could care less, so it seems, and that's my personal opinion, about the quality of the cases. So you'll have those cases go through, they'll make it through initial and get denied, and then they have to come back for someone to try to SOAR them at a recon, and all that information that's already been submitted can't be submitted again. You'll have to submit new information, and it's not going to be there. So you're not producing, or they're not going to produce the quality of cases that a SOAR worker can, and that's my personal opinion. I know I said I wasn't going to say anything else, but I'm getting a little heated right now, so I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna try to be quiet. I'm
Thank
just
you, Finley.
pissed.
And someone is agreeing with you in the chat. Um, we did also have Michelle shared. There were a couple of times when the examiner went ahead and made the decision prior to me submitting the MSR, even though I told them that I was completing it. So that's a good point, Michelle. That's something to look into. That are decisions happening faster than we can submit the MSRs? Is that contributing to this low number? Thank you for that perspective. I do want to keep moving since we only have 15 minutes, and I want to get to kind of celebratory things. And Malik is saying, absolutely, Pamela. So you're getting people agreeing with you for sure. So I want to take a little bit of time and celebrate you. This is something that we started doing last year, where I want to shout out folks who have done lots of cases in our community and are really the reason that our cumulative numbers are as high as they are. So, whoops. First in the 10 to 30 club, we have Robin Burge, Kat, Debbie, Robert, Ursula, Malik, Connie, Kathy, and Melissa Ziss. Congratulations, folks. You have completed 10 to 30 cases, which is awesome. In our next little run, we have the 30 to 50 club. We have Linda, Alicia, and Nye Petway. Congratulations, folks. That's a lot of cases to do 30 to 50. In even higher than that, the 50 to 70 club, we have Candace, Christina, who unfortunately is no longer with our SOAR program, Sharita, and Jennifer Nichols, who we know is on this call. That is a huge number of cases, 50 to 70. Definitely SOAR experts we have going on here. In the 70 to 90 club, we have Jeff, Pamela, who's on the call, Natasha, who's also on the call, and Dora. That is a ton of cases. Can you imagine that you have done 70 to 90 cases? Amazing, absolutely amazing. In a league of her own, we have over 100 cases with Michelle Armstrong Levine, who is one of our new Charlotte leads, with good reason, having done over 100 cases. You must be exhausted, Michelle. I can't even imagine. You need a nice glass of wine or something. And then finally, with this number is unimaginable to me, Catherine. I don't know how you have reached this, but you have done over 600 SOAR cases. 600.
Yeah, probably more than that. Yeah.
Y'all just claps all around to these amazing SOAR case managers. Way to go. And if you haven't seen it in the chat, we have lots of people going, woohoo, amazing, you rock, way to go, congratulations. That's just astounding. I'm so proud of this SOAR community, and I hope that you are proud of yourselves for all those cases you have done. Vinette said, when do you sleep if you have filed over 600 cases?
Not too much, not too often.
Congratulations, everyone. It's so exciting to me to see those numbers. So I just want to hear in the last few minutes that we have together, what else can Adriana and I do, and the SOAR TA Center, I think Sumitra's on here as well. What else can we do to support your work that we're not already doing? How can we be helpful? What do you need?
Well, we could use more funding. for some more caseworkers down here in Wilmington.
Yes. Yeah.
We're serving 3 counties and sometimes 5. We find ourselves, our clients are, if they move out of county, so we're really kind of shorthanded down here.
Absolutely.
But we don't have but one funding source, so it'd be nice to have some more of us.
Great point, Catherine.
We need dedicated SOAR specialists who do SOAR only and stop piling other things on them. And some of that funding that this VPAP or whatever you call it, whatever they got, we need that too. And just more dedicated SOAR workers, more dedicated SOAR workers. Is that enough of what we need? Okay.
That's right, Pamela. And we had, Catherine, we had Taylor on the call who said that she and Bridget are brand new SOAR case managers in Wilmington. And I believe y'all are path funding. Is that right, Taylor? So we have, yes. So we have some new folks.
Well, that's
coming
good.
to Wilmington.
There you
Yep.
go. Okay. Well, that helps a lot. Anybody that's willing to do this work, it's not easy.
Yep. Absolutely. And just
I
like
think,
with everything. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I think you guys are very supportive and you guys do a really good job. I just did Leadership Academy. I'm here, and then I have my meetings. So I'm hearing like a lot of the same issues. And one thing that I want to say is I think that as long as we keep all trying to come together and share our ideas, we'll make some good strides in the right direction. At Leadership Academy, they offered so many, and I know everybody can't go, but there were a lot of ideas brought to the table about funding and getting more dedicated SOAR workers. And I can't wait to share information and gather information for my meeting in Wake County in January. And I would love for anybody in Raleigh and Wake County to come together with us and let's put our ideas together. But I think that'll be the most beneficial for SOAR workers.
Love that energy, Natasha. Can't wait for that meeting. Then we had Melissa in the chat say it really makes a difference if it's a full-time SOAR as opposed to having competing duties. It took us 7 years to get a dedicated SOAR position. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So another vote for what Pamela is saying. Could some of the dialogue calls be more focused on funding? We all need this. That's a great, yes, that's a great idea. I don't know why that had not occurred to me. Yes, we can absolutely talk more about funding. Thank you. Good idea. Oh, awesome. And Sumitra is actually volunteering. I'd be glad to provide a presentation on the different types of funding utilized for SOAR workers. Yes, please, Sumitra. That would be great to have a national perspective to that as well, so we can maybe copy some of the things that other states are doing successfully. That's great. All right. So again, and we had a question about what else can SAMHSA do to help regarding VPAP. I don't know, Sumitra, if you have thoughts about that, what the National TA Center is thinking about VPAP.
Yeah, so it's funny because many of the thoughts that you guys expressed on this call about VPAP, many of my colleagues have expressed very similar thoughts. So please know we're all on the same page. In terms of right now, where our work is at the TA Center as far as VPAP is we have been working with some of our national contacts from the SSA offices to actually work on some of the concerns that you guys brought forward. And I hope to be able to give you guys like more updates soon in terms of like concrete information and steps. But if it's helpful, know that it's on our radar and that we are having these conversations currently as we speak.
Thank you, Sumitra. That's great. I'm excited to hear what y'all come up with, your brilliant minds. Well, please feel free at any time. It doesn't have to just be during this presentation. You're always welcome to call or email me. I would love to hear your ideas. I genuinely mean that. So on the horizon in 2022 really maps on with what you all are saying you need. I really want to look at increasing SOAR positions. Particularly, I want to look at that in the rural areas, although I know there are some of our big metropolitan areas. I'm thinking of Durham in particular, that really does need some dedicated SOAR case managers. So not just the rural areas, but Adriana and I get, gosh, dozens and dozens of calls from people in some of our rural areas, and there's just no one around, nowhere near, that can help. So that's really on my mind of wanting to build some of those positions. I would also like to see us submit more cases, which may be that we already are and we just need to submit them into OAT. That would be great if the answer was that simple. But I'd love to see our numbers of cases going up and helping people more go up. And I'd like to spend some time, I was just talking about this with the team from Charlotte, of clarifying processes with the local field offices to make sure that we're all on the same page with our local liaisons, and see if that helps improve some of our approval ratings that way, to make sure that with kind of all the turnover we're seeing in SSA, that they have the same understanding of what the SOAR process is that we do. So those are kind of my three big goals on the horizon for 2022. Any questions or final thoughts? We have about 6 minutes. Anything that didn't get said that you want to say? All right. Please join us for our next SOAR dialogue call. I'll send it out in the newsletter, the link to register. It'll be on January 18th. I can't promise that we'll talk about funding with that one. I'll have to meet up with Sumitra and see when we can kind of collaborate on that. But definitely I will put that on the list for this year to have as a dialogue call. And please join and kind of keep this energy going. And again, please let us know how we can support. Thank you everyone so much for taking 2 whole hours out of your morning. I know December is such a busy month for all of us who work with folks experiencing homelessness. I truly appreciate you being on the call, and please let's stay in touch and keep the energy going. Have a happy new year if I don't talk to you.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Be
Happy
safe,
holidays to you
everyone.
all. Good luck with your SOAR cases.
Thank you.